David Chen slept under the same bridge in San Francisco for 3 years. Every morning he'd walk to the public library, sit at the same computer terminal, and code. The security guards knew him, the librarians ignored him, and the tech workers stepping over him on their way to million-dollar jobs had no idea they were looking at the future billionaire who would revolutionize their industry. Because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the people society has written off. David Chen slept under the same bridge in San Francisco for 3 years. Every morning he'd walk to the public library, sit at the same computer terminal, and code. The security guards knew him, the librarians ignored him, and the tech workers stepping over him on their way to million-dollar jobs had no idea they were looking at the future billionaire who would revolutionize their industry. Because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the people society has written off. David hadn't always lived on the streets. Just 5 years earlier, he'd been a senior software engineer at Nexus Technologies, one of Silicon Valley's most promising startups. He had a corner office, stock options, and a reputation as one of the most innovative minds in user interface design. But success in tech was fragile, and David learned that the hard way. When Nexus was acquired by a larger corporation, the new management decided to clean house. David's direct speaking style and reluctance to play corporate politics made him an easy target. Despite his contributions to the company's core technology, he was laid off in the first round of cuts. The tech industry could be unforgiving to anyone over 40. Ageism was rampant, though rarely spoken about openly. David sent out hundreds of resumes, went to countless interviews, but kept hearing the same things. Overqualified. Not a cultural fit. We're looking for someone more dynamic. His savings dwindled. His unemployment benefits ran out. His health insurance lapsed, and when a minor injury became a major medical bill, David lost his apartment. Pride kept him from asking family for help. His parents had sacrificed everything to immigrate from Taiwan so he could have opportunities in America. How could he tell them he'd failed? The streets of San Francisco taught David lessons that Harvard never could. He learned which doorways stayed dry in the rain, which restaurants threw away good food, and which police officers would move you along gently versus those who saw homeless people as problems to be solved with force. But David never stopped coding. At first, he used the library computers to keep applying for jobs. Then, as months turned to years and the rejections piled up, he began working on something else entirely, a project that existed only in his mind and in fragments of code saved to a free cloud storage account. The idea had come to him during his darkest moment, sitting in a hospital waiting room after being attacked by teenagers who thought terrorizing homeless people was entertainment. As he watched people struggle with the hospital's confusing check-in system, David saw a problem that technology could solve. Healthcare navigation was broken. People spent hours filling out redundant forms, waiting in wrong lines, getting lost in bureaucratic mazes. What if there was an app that could guide people through any institutional process? Hospitals, government offices, universities, with the same ease as GPS navigation guided them through city streets. David called his project PathFinder. For 2 years, he refined the concept during his daily library sessions. The app would use artificial intelligence to learn institutional processes, then guide users step by step through complex procedures. It would integrate with existing systems while simplifying the user experience. The technical challenges were immense. David was essentially building a universal translator for bureaucracy, but his years on the streets had given him insights that no comfortable programmer in a tech office could match. He understood frustration, confusion, and the desperate need for systems that actually helped people instead of hindering them. Working 6 hours a day on a library computer, David built PathFinder piece by piece. He couldn't afford cloud computing services, so he wrote incredibly efficient code that required minimal server resources. He couldn't hire a design team, so he studied user interface design obsessively and tested every feature himself. The breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday morning. David had been trying to solve a particularly complex algorithm for weeks: how to automatically map institutional processes without manual programming for each organization. As he sat in the library watching a confused elderly woman struggle with a government form, the solution hit him. Instead of trying to predict every possible bureaucratic process, PathFinder would learn by observing user behavior. The AI would watch how successful users navigated systems, then guide future users along the same paths. It was machine learning applied to human patience and problem solving. David had no money for marketing, no network of contacts, and no way to get PathFinder into app stores without paying developer fees he couldn't afford. So he did what countless innovators before him had done. He found a way around the obstacles. He reached out to local community organizations, offering PathFinder as a free service for their clients. The San Francisco Community Health Center was the first to try it. Within days, patient wait times decreased by 40%. Word spread to other organizations, then to their clients, then beyond. Social media posts began appearing. "This app saved me 3 hours at the DMV. Finally got through disability benefits application thanks to PathFinder. Why don't more places use this?" Tech blogs noticed. TechCrunch published an article titled, "Mystery App Streamlines Bureaucracy, Creator Unknown." The story gained traction because no one could figure out who had built PathFinder. The app's registration listed only a P.O. box, and attempts to contact the developer went unanswered. David watched the coverage from Terminal 7 at the library, barely able to believe what was happening. In 3 months, PathFinder had gained over 1 million users. Government agencies were inquiring about licensing deals. Major tech companies were trying to identify the creator for acquisition talks. The call came through the library's main number. David had listed it as a backup contact, never thinking anyone would actually use it. A librarian approached his terminal. "David, there's someone on the phone for you. Says it's about an app called PathFinder." The voice on the other end belonged to Sarah Martinez, a venture capitalist from Andreessen Horowitz. "Mr. Chen, we've been trying to reach you for weeks. We'd like to discuss an investment opportunity." The meeting took place in the library's small conference room. Sarah arrived expecting to meet a young entrepreneur, probably fresh out of Stanford. Instead, she found David, clearly homeless, clearly brilliant, and clearly the real creator of the app that was transforming how people interacted with institutions. "You built PathFinder on library computers?" Sarah asked, reviewing David's technical documentation. 6 hours a day for 2 years, David confirmed. Sometimes more when they had late hours. The conversation lasted 4 hours. Sarah had never met anyone like David. a homeless man who had single-handedly created technology that major corporations were scrambling to understand. His insights into user experience came from a perspective no house developer could match. The acquisition offer from Google was $2.3 billion. Facebook offered $2.8 billion. Apple wanted to license the technology for $500 million annually. David chose to remain independent, accepting venture capital funding that valued PathFinder at $4.2 billion and left him with controlling interest. The tech world was stunned. The homeless man who had been invisible on San Francisco's streets was suddenly one of the industry's most valuable entrepreneurs. The story dominated headlines for weeks. From bridge to billions. The PathFinder miracle. But David's success story was about more than money. He used his newfound wealth to address the problems he'd experienced firsthand. He established a foundation providing technology training for homeless individuals. He hired formerly homeless programmers, recognizing that their unique perspectives could drive innovation. PathFinder continued to grow, expanding beyond bureaucracy navigation to become a comprehensive platform for simplifying complex processes. But David never forgot the lessons he'd learned during those 3 years on the streets. He kept a simple rule. Every PathFinder employee had to spend 1 day per month volunteering with homeless services. "You can't solve problems for people you don't understand," he would tell new hires. "And the most important problems are often faced by the people society ignores." The library that had been David's office for 3 years received a $10 million endowment for digital literacy programs. Terminal 7, where PathFinder was born, bears a small plaque. Innovation happens everywhere. David Chen proved that genius doesn't require an address, that breakthrough ideas can come from anywhere, and that sometimes the most valuable perspectives belong to those society has written off. In a world obsessed with credentials and connections, he succeeded with nothing but code, determination, and the deep understanding that comes from experiencing systems designed to help people that actually make their lives harder.